In April 2026, the world got news of the most shocking celebrity murder case since O.J. Simpson, when breakout pop artist David would be arrested for the brutal murder of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
The medical examiner or coroner says Rivas Hernandez was the victim of a homicide. The report says there were wounds on her body that suggest she was stabbed and that stabbing was the likely cause of her death.
The arrest would follow the horrific discovery of her inside the trunk of his Tesla, where it had apparently been sitting for around 4 months.
Well, we don't know how long this body was in the vehicle, as that car was found several days ago, but TMZ is reporting that the car is linked to the popular singer David.
But it would take around 7 months from the date of the body being discovered for David to finally be arrested.
Tonight, dramatic video captured by TMZ showing the tense moments LAPD officers arrested singer David on suspicion of murdering a teenage girl.
And during that time, members of the public and internet detectives would dig up a disturbing trail of evidence, revealing a dark timeline of alleged abuse that seemed to line up with a trail of clues that David left behind. And when David was finally charged, the case against him would be more serious than anyone could have imagined. He would be hit with charges of first-degree murder involving 3 damning special circumstances, including allegedly lying in wait for the murder.
Those special circumstances are lying in wait. That Celeste went to Mr. Burke's home on the night of April 23rd, 2025, at his invitation.
Committing the crime for financial gain.
As the evidence will show in court, the financial gain was for Mr. Burke to maintain his very lucrative musical career that Celeste was threatening on that particular night.
And the murder victim being a witness of an ongoing investigation.
And the investigation was into the lewd and lascivious acts committed by Mr. Burke with Celeste while she was under 14 years old.
But one of the most odd and perhaps incriminating aspects of this case was everything that David got up to after the murder happened, but before the body was discovered. Because over these months, he would continue living his celebrity lifestyle and posting cryptic updates to his millions of fans that many people now believe were mini confessions or examples of self-snitching. Once the body of Celeste was discovered in David's trunk, however, he would completely vanish from the public eye, not breaking his silence a single time until the day we saw him being arrested.
We never saw anyone like him. We never saw anyone going in or out of his house. We actually assumed no one was living there.
All of our neighbors were kind of on a group chat, and we were like, this was kind of scary that we've been living around the corner from an accused murderer.
But unfortunately now, all of David's desperate for attention posts on social media are now coming back to haunt him. So in this video, we'll be taking a look at the exact timeline of when David allegedly killed Celeste and every single clue that he left behind.
It was just the most beautiful thing, and it's such a poetic thing to kind of be able to kind of take somebody's life and put that in a song, explaining from my perspective how it was taught to me, because that's a real conversation that happened. And the irony of it was that person that was saying, I love you, she's not in my life anymore.
You got a sample on the album that sounds suspiciously like the girl who passed away. How are you going to explain this?
I saw David with my own eyes. I was sat a couple rows back from him. I literally see him walking in, jingling, jangling with the shackles on. He was in the orange jumpsuit. Apparently, he had illegal videos on his phone, and apparently there are so many illegal videos on his phone they can't even send the videos and the upload through the cloud, because these are illegal literally videos. I'm talking A minors. It's illegal for you to send these. It's illegal for you to watch these.
Get to them racks, get to that money, I wanna be ballin'. If you fall and break your back, don't worry, you can call Morgan and Morgan. If you've had serious damage to your body or internal organs, and you know it wasn't your fault, then you might have a case, you really might wanna call them. If you're hurt by someone else's negligence, you deserve to be paid 35 years of results, so you can trust them with your case. America's largest injury law firm, but not all law firms are built the same. Don't pick wrong, it's a big mistake. Get the wrong law firm and you're out the game. They got more than 1,000 lawyers, so you know that they're ready for battle. With 100 offices nationwide, so take them a case to tackle. They recovered over $30 billion for all their clients, and the fee is free unless you win, so you might want to try them. I want to get to them racks, get to that money, I want to be ballin'. If you fall and break your back, don't worry, you can call Morgan and Morgan. If you've had serious damage to your body or internal organs, and you know it wasn't your fault, then you might have a case, you really might want to call them. You can start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan at www.4 @TrapLawRoss. Link in description, or you can scan the QR code on screen using your phone camera. Thanks, Morgan & Morgan. Back to the video.
Content warning. This video is about a sensitive topic involving violence, assault, and loss of life. We've removed any graphic or descriptive content to comply with YouTube's guidelines. The aim of this video is to provide informative, factual journalism on tragic events in the public interest that does not dismiss its seriousness. All clips shown are under the doctrine of fair use for news reporting and analysis, and some points made in this video are simply opinions and theories. I'm not responsible for third-party information, and this video is being made purely for artistic, educational, documentary, and scientific purposes. If you want to watch my videos uncut and extended, go to patreon.com/TrapLawRoss, where you can get those for just $2. Also, you can now watch my new drops on Spotify, so go search me there. Here's the video. On July 29th, 2025, rising pop star David would board his tour bus to begin his Withered World Tour. But just moments before he departed on that bus, somebody allegedly moved his Tesla.
July 29th, important because that was the last day that David was in Los Angeles, right? But before he went off on his tour. So he was there in Los Angeles on that day that that drive happened. How certain are you that this video of the car driving away from David's mansion is the last time it drove and ended up at the spot where it was abandoned, likely with that body inside?
I'm certain.
It was left on secluded Hollywood Hills Street, and the vehicle would be left untouched for weeks, sitting out there in the summer heat. Eventually, neighbors would notice the smell, but it took a full month before anyone formally reported the vehicle. By the 5th of September, David's Tesla was impounded following multiple parking tickets and complaints, and then 3 days after it was towed, workers at the tow yard would notice a foul smell coming from the vehicle and contact the police. When they opened the front trunk, police would make a shocking discovery, finding the remains of Celeste in such a state of severe decay that initially they couldn't even determine her gender.
Once again, at this time, the identity of the person found in it is not known. Also, not known if the body is that of a male or a female.
And further complicating matters, early reports would suggest that the body was indeed. Within just 24 hours of the body being discovered in the Tesla, the registration would be linked back to the musician David Burke.
We begin with that breaking news. Details after a body was found inside a car at a Hollywood tow lot today. There's no immediate information about the identity of the person found inside, but Eyewitness News has learned the 2023 Tesla is registered in Hempstead, Texas to multi-platinum artist and musician David Anthony Burke, known professionally as David.
And while LA investigators worked the scene, David was mid-tour across the country. Officially, a spokesperson for David would confirm that he had been informed about the discovery and that he was cooperating fully with the police. What went overlooked at the time, however, was the 97 jersey that David wore on stage that night in Minneapolis, the very same numbers as Celeste's birth date, September the 7th. Ultimately, from here, it took the police more than a week to officially identify the body. However, even before they had their answer, chilling details were already spreading across sites like Reddit. In one post, one user claimed a 7th grade runaway from Lake Elsinore had apparently been living with David but hadn't been heard from in months. Meanwhile, another post labeled David a predator, claiming that he was apparently dating an 8th grader named C and had been paying off her friends to keep it a secret. Ultimately, the truth came out on September the 16th when police identified the body as 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez from Lake Elsinore.
We're in Lake Elsinore. That teenager, her name Celeste Rivas, she was 13 years old when she was last seen leaving this home back in April of 2024.
TMZ broke the girl's identification after speaking to her mother.
It was a very heart-wrenching conversation. She was very upset and said that all she knew is that her daughter had been missing all of this time. She told us that she was aware that there was a boyfriend named David,
and that her daughter had a tattoo with the letters "Shh" on her right index finger.
That the color of the ink of that tattoo was red, which was something that police had not released to the public.
Right after that news broke, David would pull the plug on his remaining tour dates.
The LAPD is not calling the death criminal, saying in a statement that at this time, the agency does not have a crime classification from the coroner as to the mode or manner of death. Thus, we do not have any suspect information at this time.
And right now, police have not said if they believe the singer David knew or ever had contact with the victim. We are just learning that his show scheduled for tonight in Seattle has now been canceled.
with all of this going on, as police were executing search warrants at his Hollywood Hills home, all while people online would follow along and piece together a disturbing timeline of abuse. According to alleged former Fortnite teammates, David actually met Celeste through playing Fortnite online in 2021 when she was apparently only 10, and he would later add her to his private Discord. More disturbingly, that same person would recall Celeste dropping hints about the which the friend group apparently just brushed off as edgy humor. But within that Discord group, thousands of messages from 2021 would suggest that David's illegal relationship was basically an open secret in certain groups. But as David's fame grew, so did the red flags. And after signing with Interscope Records, fresh off the heels of his questionably titled hit song Romantic Homicide, a very strange pattern of coincidences begun to emerge.
In the back of my mind, I killed you. And I didn't even regret it. I can't believe I said it, but it's true. I hate you.
It's really more of a figurative I killed you, especially in the back of my mind. I try to stress that in the back of my mind. That's why I say it so loud. In the back of my mind, you died. In the back of my mind, I killed you. So it's all in the mind, because that's the most secure place you can be, is in your mind.
Crucially, the music video for David's Romantic Homicide would drop on September the 7th, the very same day as Celeste's birthday. Even more unsettling was the video itself, which depicted David murdering a girl who looked eerily similar to Celeste. And over the next several years, David repeatedly hired actresses who were doppelgangers for the young girl. At the same time, he would frequently time his song launches to coincide with her birthdays. Eventually, his career would take him from Texas to Los Angeles in early 2023, and then suddenly David was living within a short driving distance of Celeste Lake Elsinore. Soon after this, her family's missing persons report began to align perfectly with the dates that she began appearing in photos with the singer. However, what made matters worse was that the network surrounding David had allegedly supported their relationship. From here, online sleuths would dig deeper into the timeline, uncovering evidence that suggested that David's inner circle may well have known about Celeste all along. Dating back to February 2024, messages would show David's friend Asia Collins discussing the missing persons poster with Celeste's cousin, specifically being told that Celeste was 13 years old at the time. During this exchange, Asia identified the girl on the flyer as David's girlfriend. By June 2024, photos from David's sold-out show at the Fonda Theatre appeared to show the victim Celeste in the VIP section near Josh Marshall, the CEO of Mogul Vision, David's management company. In those same images, Celeste also appears to be seated between David's mother and brother, showing that even the family were aware of David's connection with her. And beyond the VIP section, another video would capture Celeste walking backstage alongside David's own brother. But despite her constant presence, Celeste wouldn't be found in any of the official event photography, which would lead me to believe, in my opinion, was that she was very much someone that was kept around, but also kept a secret and out of the way of the cameras. And while those earlier sightings showed just how deeply David had affected Celeste's world, what would come next would be a series of hints that appeared to reveal exactly why and how he planned to end Celeste's life. Pretty much as soon as Celeste's body was found, her murder case was buried in a near total blackout of information. Authorities would say very little, but while the police were quiet, online communities, reporters, and private investigators like Steve Fisher would begin piecing the story together themselves. Once David was eventually arrested, the criminal complaint, autopsy findings, and private photos would finally start filling in the gaps as to exactly what had gone down between this couple. By the summer of 2024, photos would appear to show David and Celeste together in public, with Celeste wearing what looked like an engagement ring with a David tattoo on her finger. Around that same time, David would also appear with the tattoo on his finger that read "Shush," apparently matching one found on Celeste's body, and clearly a reference to whatever they had going on being a dark secret. Soon after this, videos and photos would circulate suggesting that Celeste had actually been staying in a house near David's own Beverly Hills mansion.
Why are you doing this, yo?
Another secret property where the two would one night make the inexplicable decision to go on a live stream together.
I media trained you. That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
Then, by early September of 2024, despite reportedly being a missing person, Celeste would seemingly go home, where she was captured on a neighbor's Nest camera outside of her family home the day after her birthday. But by early December, the story would take another dark turn. Messages later released by someone close to Celeste would claim that David had deleted all photos of the two of them from social media, while Celeste allegedly said that the the relationship was over. But just weeks later, David would be photographed back in Lake Elsinore, less than a mile from Celeste's family home, apparently handing money to a teenager in a moment that some saw as an extortion attempt, while others described as an effort of David to buy silence from the local teenagers that knew about the relationship. Then, as 2024 came to a close, private investigator Steve Fisher, who was hired by the owner of the property David was living in when this murder happened, would claim that David would actually be seen together with Celeste once again in photos that he found in David's home. These photos would allegedly place them in downtown Los Angeles, and one image would show David holding a knife. Then the next night, more images were taken that appeared to show Celeste around David and his friends on New Year's Eve. After that, the trail led to a camp in the Angeles National Forest, before ending in Baldwin Hills in what became one of the last publicly released photos of Celeste alive. In hindsight, this period of a few days in remote locations would strike many people as something much more suspicious than just a fun outing to the woods. But from there, things would only get worse as David kept on releasing new music into 2025 after the last known pictures of Celeste alive were taken. The video for the track One More Dance, which was a song that David said was all about having one more dance with somebody before they leave you forever, creating even more suspicion amongst followers. And in the music video, David appears in a blood-covered shirt, dragging a body to a trunk with the help of two other people before the figure is eventually buried alongside a camera. By the following month, the gap between David's public rollout and Celeste's eventual murder was starting to look suspiciously coincidental. He would announce that his Withered album would be dropping on April the 25th, 2025, which is just 2 days after the date that prosecutors claimed that Celeste was murdered. And so over this period of time, David would continue promoting his project and himself, particularly posting a lot of things that featured the Hello Kitty characters, something that is now deeply unsettling when you know that Hello Kitty was one of Celeste's favorite brands. But it wasn't just David. Around the start of March, one of his acquaintances, TikToker Chase Keith, would upload a short film called Buzzkill about a dinner date that turns into a murder and dismemberment. And right from the opening shots, the film would show Chase Keith dragging a body in a black bag to a plastic covered room where it would be dismembered with a knife, including close-ups of the fingers being cut off, a scene that would apparently be eerily similar to Celeste's own dismemberment, with even her fingers being cut off too. But not long after this, there would be more clues that Celeste would be out the picture. The lease on the Doheny Drive property where she was allegedly staying was suddenly terminated, and after that, her whereabouts became impossible to track. Even so, signs of Celeste still appeared around David, including a handbag matching one she'd been seen with before, popping up in the background of one of David's TikToks. Meanwhile, in the lead up to the alleged murder, David was still moving through public life as if nothing had happened. He performed and attended at Coachella alongside several of his friends while his album rollout continued in full view. And then came the day of the alleged murder, April 23rd, 2025. According to the charging document, that was the very day that prosecutors say that David lured Celeste to his Hollywood Hills home and murdered her.
On April 23rd, 2025, as been alleged by the complaint, Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time, went to Mr. Burke's house in the Hollywood Hills. She was never heard from again.
Behind the closed doors of his mansion, the rising star allegedly faced a difficult choice between his skyrocketing career as a pop singer and the 14-year-old girl who could end his life if she decided to speak out against him.
Special circumstance being that this murder was committed for financial gain. As the evidence will show in court, the financial gain was for Mr. Burke to maintain his very lucrative musical career that Celeste was threatening on that particular night.
Allegedly driven by the belief that Celeste would expose his illegal relationship with him.
Is murdering a witness to an investigation. In this particular case, as the evidence will come out in court, the witness to the investigation was Celeste. And the investigation was into the lewd and lascivious sexual acts committed by Mr. Burke with Celeste while she was under 14 years old.
David reportedly used a sharp object after luring her to the property, inflicting multiple wounds to her torso, including a fatal strike to her liver. So if the prosecution's timeline is correct, then the days immediately after April 23rd only make David look more deranged, because while prosecutors alleged that Celeste had arrived at David's rented Hollywood Hills home that evening and was never heard from again, after her life ended, David's public life would appear to move forward as if nothing had happened. The very same day, he was back to promoting his career, announcing the pre-sale for his Withered World Tour. Then, the day after the alleged murder, on April the 24th, his management held a Withered album release party in Los Angeles that David attended in person. The very next day, just as planned months earlier, the Withered album would officially drop, with David popping out in New York just 2 days after the alleged murder, meeting fans, taking group photos, and performing in public. It would be there that he debuted the track Afterlife live for the first time, and during that performance, David visibly broke down crying in the middle of the song and couldn't finish it. On its own, that might have just looked like another emotional moment from an emo singer during a high-pressure album week, but perhaps most disturbingly of all, several tracks on the Withered album featured what many believe to be recordings of Celeste's own voice.
Yeah, why do you think we met?
Well, I think, personally, have you ever heard of the invisible string theory?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly that. So basically, we met because we were supposed to meet.
Okay.
And we're connected because we're supposed to be connected. It's kind of like that, I loved you before I existed and I'll love you even when I die.
Word.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, it's weird, it's strange, it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
So don't leave me.
Then, less than a week after the alleged killing, David would be seen in interviews discussing how the person who introduced him to the invisible string theory that Celeste talks about on the skit was no longer in his life anymore.
It's kind of explaining from my perspective how it was taught to me, because that's a real conversation that happened. And the irony of it was that person that was saying, I love you, she's not in my life anymore. So it's like, people say that the string can't be cut and the connection cannot be severed, but I feel like it can sometimes. And that's why I wanted to put, Afterlife and all these songs that feel like endings and conclusions and goodbyes on the project to kind of solidify that message of this is the end of something, not the beginning.
From here, David would continue to subtly drop hints about the end of his relationship during other interviews.
It was just the most beautiful thing, and it's such a poetic thing to kind of be able to kind of take somebody's life and put that in a song.
But in the lead up to the alleged dismemberment, which happened over a week after the alleged murder, something else was happening in the very same Discord server that David had once invited Celeste into. According to Discord logs, David repeatedly spammed the word decay in the chat, and by May the 5th, 2025, this was the date prosecutors alleged that Celeste's body was actually cut and dismembered. The dismemberment itself was described as bilateral, with both her arms and legs being systemically severed from her torso before being packed into 2 trash bags that were also found in the Tesla's front trunk. According to the unsealed findings, investigators discovered multiple blue plastic fragments embedded directly into the cut surfaces of Celeste's limbs, with forensic experts suggesting that these fragments likely came from the tool that was used to carry out the dismemberment or the surface she was placed on during the act, with some speculating on Reddit that they would recognize this blue plastic residue as likely the result of a 3D printed saw. But beyond the of the limbs, there were even more heartbreaking details, as it would turn out that Celeste's left ring and pinky fingers were also found to have been removed or mutilated. The left ring finger being the very same one that Celeste apparently had the David tattoo on, and to make matters even more spooky, when her body was discovered, apparently her left eye was missing. Immediately after the alleged dismemberment, another account in David's Discord began posting strange messages, including one that read, "Let us remember who you deceased." Perhaps the most haunting aspect of the entire timeline is the imagery that David chose for his very last final live performances. David's Withered tour featured haunting and unsettling themes of death and remembrance, including real-life caskets being brought out, and guest books that led many fans to feel like the whole event resembled a wake or a funeral or some kind of afterlife ritual than a standard concert. Just 2 days before Celeste's body was discovered in David's Tesla on what would have been her 15th birthday, that was the day that David announced the deluxe edition of his Withered album, which he was titling Marsessence. This meant that while Celeste was allegedly decomposing in the front trunk of his Tesla, David was just getting on with his life, leaving behind clues and naming his next album specifically after a word that refers to decay and decomposition.
A phenomenon known as marquescence. Ooh, marquescence. Doesn't that sound lovely? But anyway, what marquescence is, it's the withering and retention of plant organs that are typically dropped.
For 7 months after Celeste's remains were found in his Tesla, David Burke remained a free man.
All of our neighbors were kind of on a group chat, and we were like, this was kind of scary that we've been living around the corner from an accused murderer.
One neighbor actually told me that he's relieved that there was an arrest because he said that there have often been parties at this home. I asked if he's heard parties here recently. He said it's an ongoing problem. Either way, on Monday, we're expected to get our first look at David as he's expected in court in person.
And watching his back was an expert legal team that would insist that the case against him was non-existent. However, on the afternoon of April the 16th, 2026, David would get his last taste of freedom. The police would arrive to another property that he was apparently renting in Hollywood.
It's gonna obscure my view from the gate. It's good?
Or if you try to resist, you will get hit with knife feet through it. It's gonna hurt.
I got you.
If you try to run, we have canine on premises and you will get bit.
I got you. All right, so the gate is locked. Do I open the gate? Sir? Open the gate.
And within minutes, the 21-year-old was placed in handcuffs as a specialized task force began a meticulous sweep of the residence.
The 21-year-old taken into custody at a home in the Hollywood Hills. The California Post also releasing this footage showing officers in tactical gear handcuffing David before putting him inside a patrol vehicle.
By April the 20th, the district attorney's office would formally charge David with first-degree murder involving 3 special circumstances: lying in wait, murder for financial gain, and the murder of a witness.
The murder was a way for David Burke to keep Celeste Rivas quiet. They are saying that because she was about at a time when he was beginning a world tour, when his fame was going up, he was doing interviews on media really around the world, but here in the US, his music was getting tens of millions of streams on Spotify and elsewhere, that he was on his way up and that he wanted to keep her quiet and not reveal a relationship that had been going on between the two of them when she was underage, under 14 years old.
In addition to the murder charge, the indictment included counts of continuous essay of a minor and the unlawful mutilation of a human's remains. During his initial court appearance, David's defense team entered a plea of not guilty on all charges.
The actual evidence will show David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, nor was he the cause of her death. And we would like to be able to have the evidence come into the light of day at the earliest opportunity in order to establish that.
But given the severity of the allegations, the judge would deny him bail, ensuring that he remains safely locked behind bars where he belongs. Currently, the case is moving towards a preliminary hearing where prosecutors are expected to present the smoking gun evidence, including forensic fragments found in the autopsy report and over 40 terabytes of digital evidence.
Today, prosecutors in court presented new disturbing evidence regarding child pornography.
David Anthony Burke appeared in court in an orange jumpsuit, described as stoic, slumped in a chair, looking directly at the judge, and mumbling the single word, "yeah," when asked if he agreed to a specific date. The 21-year-old, accused of killing their 14-year-old, possessed a, quote, significant amount of child images on an iCloud account that belonged to him.
So if you want to keep up with this case daily, I've been posting pretty much every day on my second channel, Trap More Ross, and I even recently went down to the courthouse to watch David in the flesh fight this case in court. So I hope you found that breakdown useful, and if you want to keep up, make sure you go and follow my second channel, Trap More Ross, and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching this one, and justice is coming.